Hey, Joedy Cook, how are you doing, man?
Doing good, brother. How about yourself? I had to turn my phone off there. Keeps
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. I better do that too.
yeah.
No, dude, thank you for coming on. I know we spoke a couple of years ago, or like when I had the audio podcast going,
Yeah.
and I hate that we fell out of touch, but I just kind of started this project back up, and I wanted to have the founder of the North American Dogman Project on my show. It's such a hot topic. There's a lot going on, and it seems like it's ramping up, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So,
There's a lot going on.
oh,
Uh,
for sure. It's across the board going on. There's anything you can think of right now. It's going crazy,
well,
right?
we started the North American Dogman Project 10 years ago. Okay.
Okay.
And it was not that active, going on across the country 10 years ago. I mean, you were getting majority of the stuff that you're getting was the Beast of Bray Road, the Michigan Dogman, and Shenango Valley Werewolf, stuff, and then a couple of odds and ends stuff that was just floating all around the country. Excuse me, and that's what it was. That's you everything you were getting, but it was a new cryptid, and people were kind of getting really tired of the Bigfoot field. Because the Bigfoot field was getting real political and becoming a huge clique, and everybody was seeing it. Because every conference had the same people from other conferences, and you never saw anybody new and stuff. And it just, like I said, it's got to the point people were getting so burned out on it, and I think that's why so many people went to Dogman and to other cryptids because it was something new, it was something more exciting, and it was starting to happen like really, really fast.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Do you think there's just been an uptick in the cases, or just an uptick in the way we process them, or or all of the above?
A lot of the cases, I would have to say, it's a big kick up. Now, you go back. I started, a lot of the Bigfoot stuff in, the '80s, going in, the late '80s, going all through the '90s and early 2000s is, when I did a lot of the Bigfoot stuff. And you very seldom ever got a case or heard of something where someone saw a werewolf. Okay, it was very, very, slim because in a lot of these areas, and I'll talk about, Germantown here in a minute. Um, you were getting reports, and I talked to other Bigfoot researchers back in the, who did this stuff going from the '80s and '90s. They were getting reports just like me of Bigfoot, had kind of had pointy ears, or it kind of had a snout to it,
Right.
or it kind of looked like a dog and things, because no one knew what a dogman was. No one even thought about what a werewolf was even back then. And then so we're getting all these cases, now in 2000s, and I go back and look at all my reports, and I see these reports of a dog or a Bigfoot with high pointed ears, a snout, and stuff. And it's like these people are seeing a dog man. They weren't seeing a Bigfoot. They think it was a Bigfoot because they never heard of a dog man or seen a werewolf type, cryptid, even, you know, compare it to what they saw. And so we were getting a lot of that. A lot of other researchers were getting that. Now, when I mentioned like Germantown, they when Germantown is here in Ohio, it's a big farming area. Ohio's a farming area. We're dairy and pork, okay, pig farms and dairy farms, okay. So Germantown is a very big farming community, and they start building houses in suburbs, okay. So in the 1970s, they built a suburb um, in Germantown. The first street that went in was called Butter Street, and they just did like one street going deep into the woods. They cleared a lot of the woods out, and they put houses down on both sides going down. Okay, that was like the first residential area there. So people were seeing a creature that looked like a werewolf in the '70s there, and they were calling it the Butter Street Monster. I mean, you take out trash at night, they would see it. pets were coming up missing. People were just hearing strange howls and just crazy stuff. And so people were like, man, this there's something to this. This is a werewolf. But it stayed in the community. It never made it outside the community because I guess they never allowed it to go outside the community because maybe they didn't want a whole bunch of people to come in, or they wanted people to come in and live there, but they don't want people coming in and start investigating, harassing people.
Sure.
So it's like one of these things where it stayed in the community, and you'll find out in a lot of these areas that you do investigations, it goes all the way back to the 70s. It's just you never heard about it because it was their secret, or it was their monster, and they wanted it for themselves, I guess. So you end up seeing a lot of that, going on in the Dogman community.
Wasn't correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be wrong, but didn't Steven Seagal? I'm thinking, yeah, I know. I was talking about him today, but didn't Stephen King actually use a case out of Ohio or somewhere about a werewolf or Silver Bullet?
Yeah, Silver Bullet. It was based on. I can't remember the original title to Stephen King's book, but it was kind of based on the Defiance, Ohio werewolf case.
That's it.
1972. Because it starts out, Stephen King's book starts out, there was a guy that was attacked and killed working on the railroad. Okay. So the very first sighting and attack in Germantown was by 3 railroad workers. And so there's a lot of similarities there because it got to the point where, this happened for about a week. Okay. And the whole town got terrorized and people were just, freaking out about this. And it got to the point where the police department took it very serious, but they had to make sure that they were able to keep safety among the community. So they came up with an ideal or a plan to basically say, well, some of the sightings, this thing was wearing clothes, thinking that people think, oh, okay, it's somebody dressed up as a werewolf and not actually a werewolf. So that didn't go over real well because livestock was being killed. Animals were coming up missing. And they're saying, well, it's a bear, was doing it. Well, Ohio never had bears until 1981. Okay. And that kind of broke off the thing because the bears would basically migrate from Pennsylvania down to eastern Ohio and go into West Virginia and migrate back up. Okay. They never, sorry, I hit that. They never stayed in Ohio. Okay. Until about 1980. Then we end up getting like 44 counties out of 88 that were getting black bear sightings because, one, our deer population is so overwhelming. We have the largest roadkill, in most states. So the food abundant for the bears were here, and they stayed because the food source was here. They didn't have to migrate to go, through season to season to look for more food. They just stayed, and now we have bear probably in 60 counties, in Ohio right now. But the thing of it is with normal people, I hate when the police or somebody says, well, it's misidentification. No, it's not. There's no such thing as misidentification. Okay, when it comes to a cryptid, because we as humans, since the first grade, knows what every single animal in the zoo looks like. Okay. E is for elephant, S is for snake, A is for ape, Z is for zebra. Okay. We know this from first grade. Okay.
Right.
So we know what domestic animals look like. We know what farming animals look like. And if we see something that doesn't look like that, it's not misidentification. We saw something that should not be there. And that is the problem with when you're dealing with law enforcement or dealing with, whomever, skeptics and so forth, because that's what they always want to use. Yeah, misidentification. No, there's
Right.
no such thing as misidentification in the cryptid field. It's nuts.
Right. And you and I both were in law enforcement, so we know
Mhm.
that we know how that works, and we
Oh
also
yeah.
know that we can't just put in a report, yeah, it was a werewolf, or we'll never have a solid court case again.
No,
So,
we've had quite a few police officers reach out to us,
mhm.
um, and gave us their encounters. They never talked to their department about it because they
Right.
knew what was going on. Okay. I mean, we just had two cases here within the last month in Ohio by two separate police officers from two different jurisdictions. Okay. Within a half mile of each other in about a 2 week span. One officer went public with it, and now he's got a lot of grief from his department because he went public on what he saw. The other officer did not go public, you know, um, but we talked to him and went out to the area, saw exactly what where he described what he saw, the whole area and everything. We went through everything, and like I said, this other officer shows up 2 weeks later, from a different jurisdiction, on his way home, and he says, "Yeah, I'm on this road. This is where I am on this road, and this is what I saw." You know,
Wow.
and yeah, and now he's not doing any interviews anymore because his department came down on him hard. You know,
Yeah.
and things, and it's
It's a
it's
shame. I
too
mean,
much.
everyone in that film are trained observers. I mean, they saw
Yeah.
what they saw, unless they're just flat out lying, but they saw what they saw. And, if they don't back down from that, I mean, there's something there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you could scare someone enough to like, okay, I'm not going to talk about this anymore, that's one thing. But if someone just is persistent and they don't care if they lose credibility, job, whatever, and they're consistent with that story, there's something there. And there's a lot of professionals that are coming forward that see into these things.
Oh yeah, you get a lot of that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of famous movie actors that like really believe in certain cryptids and stuff,
Hmm.
that basically came forward. But um, I just my thing is I just don't know what it is with a department, you know, um, one that stops someone from what they saw, because it's not like, you know I guess the community can say, well, this officer's crazy and he shouldn't be carrying a gun, and so, and I can get that part,
Right.
but the point of it is, we live in a world today where nothing um, is odd, is
Right.
unexpected. There's something that's always going to happen, and
Yeah.
it's crazy. You know,
Anything goes anymore.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
well, I hate to segue into this, but I would love to know what got you started into this, and did you have an event or an account, or and lead into how you started the North American Dogman Project, or what? Why did you do that?
Well, back in the '80s, I was really into UFOs. Okay, I was a I saw a UFO. Okay, which I think it was UFO, but I think at the time, the more I sit there and think about it, it was probably the stealth fighter, um, because it was the stealth fighter was so top secret and stuff, and from where I lived, where I saw it fly over, um, Wright Patterson Air Force Base was
Oh
kind of
yeah.
close, and it was just like at dusk, and it was a triangle shaped object, and it was flying real low, and real slow, you know. I was coming out of my apartment. I was on the sheriff's department at the time, and I was got home, changed and everything. I was going out to meet some friends, and that's when I saw it. And it's just like I said, no sound whatsoever, and it was triangle shape. But like I said, the more I sit there and think about it, and doing research on the stealth fighter or the stealth bomber that were at right past an Air Force base at the time, that's probably what I saw. Which I'm thinking that's what I would saw, or it could have been some other type of experimental aircraft. Um, because I didn't really hear about triangle shaped UFOs until probably to like the 90s
Yeah.
and stuff. Because I got in contact with a UFO group in Cincinnati because I was, like you said, I said, this is kind of neat. I think I'd like to do this, you know. So I got in with this group and we were doing a lot of different research and talking to different people. And they had a TV show that we ended up doing. It was called UFO Update Live. It was on like the first Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock in the evening, public access TV. So this was like way before cable and all that. I think on TV was like the only thing that was out at the time. And so we did this live show. People could call in. You had guests. You talked about different UFO experiences and things, and it ran for about 10 years. And we were getting reports about Bigfoot and a few other cryptids like the Mothman, the Goatman, things like that. And the guy that was running the group said, there might be something to this. This is some good stories. We can probably use some of this, for the show and stuff. And, who wants to do, who would want to go and look into this? So myself and George Clapperson said, yeah, we'll go ahead and do this. And we kind of like fell into the Bigfoot stuff, man. Like it was boom. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I lived it. I'm not kidding. Every single time, free minute was going out to the field, going to the library, researching Bigfoot, getting as many different newsletters from different groups that were putting them out. I mean, just everything. I mean, I was putting more time out than I should, you know,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And so I stayed with that for like years. And like I said, going all the way up into, the 2000s and stuff. And like I said, I just saw the total decay of the Bigfoot community.
Oh yeah.
Total decay just because of jealousy, you know, just total nonsense stuff. Like I said, turning into cliques. If you didn't have the right last name, you weren't doing a show for someone. I mean, it was really, really nuts. And I said, this isn't healthy. I mean, it's not because people are losing friends over this. People are fighting over just crazy things, and so it's like I need something new. I need something fresh. And I was reading about the Defiance, Ohio case and some other stuff about other dogman stuff. I was reading, like I said, Linda Goffrey, some of her books
Yeah.
and things, and talking with Linda Goffrey and so forth, and becoming really good friends with her. And I just said, man, I said, there's something to this. This is fresh. Um, this is more intriguing than the Bigfoot stuff because this is the thing. I've always used this term. I would always say this is the thing that goes bump in the night that bites you.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. And I just I fell in love with it about 2006. Me and a couple guys, were doing the research. We were doing the North American Dogman Project. We did not put our website up until 2016 is when we put the website up. Okay. Um, because everybody did everything on Facebook. That was the only way to get contacts or, to get stories and things like that. Like you said, was from Facebook. So we end up
Uh-oh. I think I
deciding to
lost you
go
for a
into
second.
yeah, I thought you fell asleep. You right when your eyes shut, it's like it was all froze. I'm like, yep, you wait.
I'm tired,
Where'd
but
you
I'm not
get
that
cut off?
tired.
Yeah.
Uh,
Where did we get cut off at?
oh, you were talking about the about 2016. That's where the Facebook. That's where the
Yeah.
main part of this stuff was coming
Yeah,
from.
about
So
2016 is when we started the website, because, like I said, everything you needed was on Facebook. You know, you got on podcasts and stuff like that. So we started the website, and then website kicked in pretty good, pretty fast. Right now, our website is in the top 100 top
wow,
websites. Yeah,
that's good.
so yeah, we get a lot of activity. We get a lot of activity. We get a lot of people sending emails. A lot of people wanting to join. A lot of people wanting to get out in the field. And I mean, it's good. We're like you said, we're doing really good. I'm pretty surprised that we're doing that good. And like I said, I'm really excited that we're in the top 100 websites. You know, so
Yeah,
that to me that's awesome.
no,
Yeah.
that's good. That's a good legacy to keep moving forward with,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and to have one day that everybody can just pick it up and just keep running with it. Now,
Oh yeah.
is it kind of like MUFON where you can can someone become a field researcher or with training and like get handed cases in their area they can go out and check out?
Yeah. What you do, you go ahead and you go on the site and you join. Okay.
Okay.
And we'll once we get your information, we'll put you in contact, depending on the area that you live in, to your state representative or your regional director, and they will get you, you know, interviewed, find out what's good for you on, to do with the organization. And then once that's done, we'll get you the forms that you need. We'll get you a copy of the field manual. We have a very good thick field manual that we go to, and um, then you go and get out and investigate, and we'll tell you how to investigate. What forms you're going to need to fill out, send in, keep copies for yourself, and how to collect evidence and so forth. So we're going to be putting out a series of videos on our YouTube channel, like on how to conduct an investigation, how to conduct collecting evidence, what type of field gear to use when you go out. So we're looking into doing a lot of that stuff. Yeah.
I need to check into that. I know I live probably an hour or maybe 45 minutes south of Nashville, and
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee's kind of a uncharted territory. There are a lot of
Yeah.
reports, I think, coming around Tennessee, and especially the western and eastern part. There might be a few cases in the central area where I'm at, but
Yeah.
most of it's like west. I think even going up toward the land between the lakes, which I need to get up there soon anyway.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of stuff going on right there. So, and has been for a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of activity in Tennessee.
Okay, good to know, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe.
Mhm.
Well, so if you had a one case that really just gets to you, or like gets your skin crawling, and maybe one that for certain is legit, and there's legitimacy to it, what would that be, and where is it, or if you can divulge that?
There's a couple cases. One was a Jedediah National Forest case, which was probably, I think, was one of the best cases. The witness, got a photograph of one when he was there, and he was Jedediah National Forest is a forest that is used when they film a lot of TV shows in California. Okay. Any of the like the wooded areas and stuff where it's always the Joedy National Forest. And a couple episodes of Star Trek, I think the Next Generation might have been the one that was filmed in Joedy National Forest, a couple episodes. And this guy was a big Star Trek enthusiast. And he decided he's going to go to Joedy National Forest to look at the area an episode that he saw and he wanted to check it out. So he's going down this trail and he sees two people off to, his left. Okay. He hears them first talking, and that's what kind of got me. He sees them, waves at them, they wave at him and stuff. And they're probably about 40, 50 yards maybe away from him. So he's going down, the trail, and then he hears a scream. I mean, just like screaming. So he runs back to where those people are standing, and he said there was this werewolf standing right there where these two people were. And he pulls his phone up, takes a picture, okay? And I'll send you the picture so you can post it so people can see it.
Oh, yeah. Awesome.
And, and he ran. He took off. He has no idea what happened to the people there. He reports it. They ignore it, So he contacts us. So our California people went and talked to him. They got his actual phone. They did the metadata on the phone, and the metadata shows that whatever he took a picture of was actually a solid creature that was there. But yeah, it's that was probably one of the better cases that we've had. Another case which was really, I guess, horrifying is the best way to put it. We got in contact with a guy that has I'm trying to think what the right word, what they call that. He raises werewolves. He raises German shepherds. He has a kennel, okay, where he raises them. And he was out one day with his daughter, and there's this where he lives. His house there's a street there, and there's kind of like another street that goes up, and there's like no houses around him, okay, except for like where his house is there, and the kennel is like right behind his house. So him and his daughter, it was just him and his daughter, is out there and they're walking, and he, watching his daughter just like pick up pine cones and all this other stuff. And then she goes, "Look, Daddy, a doggy standing up." So she sees this like werewolf in the distance, just like by a tree standing there looking at him, and, he kind of plays it off with the daughter, but he's still keeping an eye on this thing, and they leave. And, the dogs just go like crazy one night, and he's looking out and he doesn't see anything. But this thing ended up coming in and end up killing 7 German shepherds through like a 3 or 4 night period.
Man,
Was just coming and killing them. And it was ripping the back of the fences and the walls off to get into the kennel where the shepherds were. I mean, we got the pictures of the shepherds, ripped apart, and even the X-rays from the vet, where this thing just literally bit down on the necks of these shepherds and just knocked them.
Is that something you could you send me those as well?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can send you those.
Okay.
It's like I said, it's just it was crazy. That whole thing, and he ended up, leaving, selling his property and leaving. I mean, they basically, that was his livelihood, and he was more terrified for his daughter's safety, but it was just one of these things that, it happened. The police kind of like shoved it off. The SPCA wouldn't even look at it. And it's like, something did this to these dogs. And you can't say another dog got in here and did this, because the way they was, I mean, you had to have hands in order to do what you did to get in to where these shepherds are. Like you said, it was wicked as shit, man.
Mm.
You know, some of the stuff. And I mean, we get stuff like this all the time. What was some of the other ones? Well, the LBL case.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that one.
Yeah, yeah. Pat and Joe. Yeah, they got a lot of people shoved them off from that case. Didn't want to bother looking at the video, and they gave it to us. We looked at the video. We were able to clean the video up, stabilize it, and that's when we got the picture of the dog man holding a smaller dog man.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just like, if you go on the website, you can see the videos and you can see all the pictures. And it was holding another dog man up in front of it, but the legs on the dog man, it was like a child, where the legs were like up and brought in. It's like, if your child's standing in front of you, you pick them up by the arms, and what's the child do? They bring their legs up, and that's exactly what this was doing. And this picture, you can see once we cleaned it up, and it's the one thing, the eyes were like huge on this. I mean, when you look at it, the first thing you're going to see is, or the first thing you're going to think is, it's alien, you know, because the shape of the head and the ears and stuff, and because of the eyes, you're going to say, man, this looks alien, more than it looks like a dog man. But
Yeah.
it's a dog man, you can tell, but it's just, because of the large black eyes that's in this thing. Yeah, it's wicked looking, man. Definitely.
Well, I know last year I had to work, had a private investigation case up north of LBL. And on my way back through, I stopped through LBL, just kind of walked around a little bit. I went through I think they have an elk or a buffalo preserve in that
Yeah,
area.
Buffalo. Hmm.
And that was pretty cool. I'm thinking the whole time I'm going through there, I'm thinking this is prime feeding ground for these things. If they're out here, this is exactly what they would want to go for. But I don't know if anything has ever happened to the wildlife there, or even if the rangers would admit it, if it did. Have you
From
heard of
my
it?
understanding, those buffalo are very well protected.
Okay.
So yeah, and they do a head count daily on that. So I do know that just from talking with people, that I have contact there. They're like, yeah, that's their pride and joy, and they're going to make sure those things, nothing happened to them.
Yeah,
So yeah,
it's a beautiful area. But
yeah,
you could tell. I mean, there's something weird going on in that whole. But and
oh
it's
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's it's a bigger area than people think it is. You can look
Well,
at it. You look
yeah.
at it.
I
You
mean,
look at it on the map, and it's like not that big. But man,
yeah.
it's pretty vast once you get in there and drive it and explore it.
There's a lot of people that came missing in LBL.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, I don't know if you remember a researcher by the name of J.C. Johnson,
Mm-mm.
early 2000s. Uh, he recently passed, probably about 5 years ago, right before, I think it was right before COVID. He passed. And JC did a lot of investigation in the LBL early 80s, before the so-called massacre took place. And he knew a lot of people in there, and he was friends with a lot of the police and rangers and all that stuff down in that area. And one thing JC Johnson talked about was sightings of a hybrid Bigfoot that was looking very, very human. There was a witness that he spoke with that was, um, on a trail, saw something at a distance, kind of went up into the wood line and hid, and saw these two like Bigfoot walk down this road, and they were females, but they looked really, really, really human, like they were hybrids, like a
Hmm.
hybrid human hybrid Bigfoot. Um, and he said it just to him. I mean, when J.C. Johnson was saying that, this guy was saying it was a hybrid. It had to have been a child of a Bigfoot and a human, just by looking the way they were looking, the way they were acting. They just were so human, but they were covered with hair. But yeah, it's just the possibility of people that could have been abducted, and given birth to a hybrid Bigfoot. I mean, that's probably not uncommon. You deal with you get a lot of stories like that, like JC got, and a lot of the Dogman stuff that takes place there. And there's other cryptids that people have seen down there. People are finding some really weird stuff that's going on there. I mean, it's just like the Vampire Hotel, which was actually somebody's house, not a hotel, but um, you have to want to think about, why were these people living in these real far out places in LBL?
Hmm.
Excuse me. And then you have all these bunkers. So what was all these bunkers there for? These bunkers came in after everybody was removed.
Yeah,
You
those are
know,
strange.
yeah. I mean, some of the bunkers, what's really weird, they have no doors or no windows, and it's like, well, how do you get in? And some of them only have doors. You know, and and even the people there at LBL has no explanation why these bunkers were even there, or whatever they were even used for. They say, well, if you're on a trail and a bad storm comes, you can go in there. That was a whole thing of the bunkers, but there's a lot more of them out there that doesn't have any entrance or exits to them.
Hmm.
So that means you know eh, it leads to something underground, or it may have a secret way to get in, or something. It's just like, things just don't make sense why these things were there, you
Yeah.
know. And you have to sit there and think, why did the government want this property so bad that they were willing to kick everybody out, you know, and pay them off? All the cemeteries are still there because that was part of the deal, you know. But it's just, you have to think to yourself, I mean, why are these, what's the purpose of LBL? It just doesn't make sense, what, other than a national park. Okay. But it just, there,
Hmm.
I don't know. I think the government's a lot more involved in LBL, and it's some type of experimental place. That's what I really believe. It's just some type of experimental place.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come up missing, and a lot of really weird stories of deaths and stuff come out of that place. Um, and what's the weird thing about it is, I think it's the road. I think it's 22 that crosses over LBL to make it north and south. So Dogman's like all in the northern part. All the Bigfoot stuff's down on the southern part, and there's not too much of a mix going back and forth. They're keeping their boundaries. And this is one thing a lot of researchers are finding out. It's like you said, all the Dogman activities going in the north, and all the Bigfoot activities going on in the south. So you know, and there's really no evidence that anybody can find that both these creatures were in that area prior, to the government taking it over. But here's one thing I found out in the research and talking with people on the outside, is they believe that that kind of community of people that were living there were werewolves.
Really?
And yeah, they going all the way back into the 1700s, bloodlines. And we went to a restaurant there in Grand Rivers, and we were talking to one of the waitresses there, and she's like, I'm being serious, a heart attack. Don't you tell anybody you're from out of town.
Wow.
Don't tell anybody when you go into a hotel. Don't tell them you're from out of town, because they say people come up missing
Wow.
and stuff. Yeah, and that's where they start talking about where these or these werewolf communities, werewolf people go and feed in LBL because of the
Man.
amount of people that's in there. Yeah, I've heard that more than just from one person there in Grand Rivers. I heard it from a dozen people in Grand Rivers that sit there and say that these bloodlines go all the way back to the 1700s, and it's a couple families that everybody. It's one of these community secret things that only the community knows about. And it's like you said, it's something that's been there, and everybody knew it going all the way up, through generations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's, I need to get up there more. I'm only probably 2 hours from there, or maybe two
yeah,
and a half hours. It's very close to a big super field of research. I mean, I need to
yeah.
get up. I need to get up there more.
Oh yeah,
I definitely lean more toward the UFO stuff. Like you, I was, in the 70s and 80s, I was all in to the UFO topic, and it just kept leading to everything else, like the Bigfoot, the ghost, the
oh yeah, yeah,
anything like that. I was just super
yeah. I
attracted
mean,
to it.
I remember in grade school. I mean, it was, oh God, what was it? 70. I'm trying to think. It was the early part of the 70s. There was a big UFO flap that was just going across the country.
Yeah.
And I remember in art class, our art teacher, and I thought this was like the coolest thing. She goes, with all these UFO activity and sightings and stuff, what do you think a UFO looks like? What do you think an alien looks like? So in art class, we got to draw what we thought a UFO looked like and an alien. And it was like the neatest thing. And it's like right there, man, I freaking fell for it.
Oh yeah.
Just like when going to see the movie The Legend of Boggy Creek,
Oh
you
yeah.
know, as a kid, it's like, man, I loved it. Scared the hell out of me at night because I had this big window in my bedroom, and we had this old cherry tree that was like shaped like this. I'm not kidding you. It was like literally shaped like this. That was right outside the window. And I remember one night, about a night or two after seeing the movie, it was storming and it was lighty, and you saw this thing. It's like it scared the hell out of me, thinking it was the Boggy Creek monster, you know. But it was like I remember driving my 22 and going out to the woods, looking for it,
Yeah.
and it just, man, and that's what drove me to, I think, to a lot of this stuff. Um, I remember going to the movies and seeing, I think it was Conquest of the Planet of the Apes with my family in the drive-in, and one of the preview movies was the Patterson film.
Oh
The first
really?
time I ever seen the Patterson film,
Wow.
and they played it, and a lot of people will tell you this when you went to the and saw the Planet of the Apes, they played the Patterson film,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
it's like that was it, man, right there. That is like, man,
Yeah.
that's a real Bigfoot, and things, and it's like God, man, I loved it. I lived it as a kid, and then when you get older, you discover girls and you forget about.
Yeah. You forget about that for just a little while.
Yeah, just for a little bit, and then you get back into it, and yeah, it's just it does, man. It's just I'm 60 years old, man, and it's like I still love reading about it, watching about it,
Yeah.
watching different podcasts, and it's just you know I love it. I want to get my grandkids, I want to get them, involved in it when they get older and stuff. I try to get my daughters, but they're you know I'm
Yeah.
not a monster hunter, Daddy.
Right.
you know.
Well, I do. Before I forget, I do have a couple of questions
Mhm.
for you, and just from you've been doing this for years, the research on the Dogman
Yeah,
stuff.
30
What?
years young
Yeah, that's amazing. And what?
altogether.
you probably have a little bit better input on this than most. What and I've heard across the board different theories, but in your opinion, what do you think these things are, and how old are they?
That's a hard question. I mean,
Good. That's what
I
I'm.
I I asked Linda Goffrey one time, "What do you think they are?" And she couldn't come up with an answer. She believes, and I believe what she believes, is that this is a canine species that's capable of walking, that evolved to where it has capability to grip.
Okay.
Okay. Not saying a opposable thumb, but able to grip. Um, it's a hidden, definitely a hidden species. I think that they've been around, and the thing of it is, like, people talk about, Bigfoot and Native American culture. It's there, but when it comes to Dogman, there's not a whole lot there that you can interpretate, to what it interpret to what it could be.
Right.
That's the biggest problem when it goes to thinking about Dogman through history and any type of artifact. But it would probably would be that these things were. Let me jump back here. You look at different cultures around the world. Okay, they talk about dog-headed people. Okay,
Right.
the Greeks, the Vikings talked about fighting, dog-headed men. Saint Christopher, the
Yep.
original was dog-headed. I mean, hell, when I was in Iraq, one of the Iraqi advisors that were there, we were just talking just like weird stuff, and he would talk about, um, in ancient times there was a tribe of dog-headed men that lived in the mountains that would
Hmm.
come down and trade with the people, of Babylon, and they understood them, but we couldn't understand them, but they were able to understand us. And he talked about this, so I did some research on that, and yeah, there's a lot of ancient civilizations that do talk about dog-headed men. Now, when it comes to the United States and um, North America, you don't get a whole lot of any information about that, because when it comes to Native America, it's not there. So, how did they get here unless they were brought here? Okay. Now, I was talking with a Chinese scholar one time that lives here in the United States, and he ran across a historical um, literature from a Chinese sailor that they say they discovered America, but this was at the same time, America was, already been discovered, and people were starting to live here. And they talked about how they brought the urine with them and
Okay.
let it go into the United States, which is their version of Bigfoot.
Right.
Okay. But Bigfoot's already been here. So, but he was talking about, I mean, it was really, it was just this story that this sailor captain talked about, was how they had to try to maintain these creatures, for, you know, 2 months, and the boats and so forth. And then it's like, they didn't even get far enough on land yet before they let these things out. And just go swim, get in there, you know. But it was a really good story,
Yeah.
So is that a possibility how Bigfoot got here? It's how you interpret it. But when it comes to, like, Dogman and things, they, in my opinion, either they were so far in the United States and Canada that they were so hidden and no one ever knew about it, until recent years. And when people did see them, they just saw like what they thought was a large wolf.
Yeah.
Okay, um, and that's my only opinion on that. That's where
Yeah.
they probably came from, but no one knows. I mean, if the queen of the Dogman field, Linda Godfrey, if she doesn't know, then you know,
Right.
they, then no one. You can come up with different suggestions on what you think. You
Yeah.
know,
I hate we
so
I hate the field lost her a couple of years ago. I was talking with her and she was going to
yeah,
actually, come on the show, and I could not wait, but things never did line up. And then, time went on, then she passed. It was just a
yeah,
terrible loss to this field.
oh
And
yeah,
but
yeah,
no, I was trying to think up, and I had to look it up real quick, but I was trying to think there was maybe a mythical group of people or a different race of people, and I think they had cynocephaly, and they were
yeah,
like considered dog-headed people. But and that's even kind of mythical. But there are people to this day that have like facial feet, or they have like their entire face or even their bodies covered with hair. I mean, they were,
yeah, yeah.
they were brought into, unfortunately, like to the
The circuses
circuses
and
and stuff
things.
like
Yeah.
that. But even that's different than what you're talking about. And my second question I was going to ask you. Like, some people think that Dogman is different from your standard werewolf, and even I don't know. What do you think about that? Are they
Well,
different, or is it
when you say werewolf, people think of the 1941
Lon
Lon
Chaney?
Chaney
Right.
Wolfman. You know, um, here's the thing: the issue with that, and this is my opinion, and I think it's the opinion of probably a lot of other people that you can't have one organism switch into a different organism. It's impossible.
Right.
Your bones would have to be you know uh, cartilage in order to bend and you know to do things that a werewolf change the body into a werewolf. It would literally kill a human being because I asked the doctor about this one time. uh uh I said, if someone turned into a werewolf, how would it be? And like he described it. I said, it would literally, it would kill a human. I mean, the way that your body function is, the way the body changes, the pressure on the heart, the pressure on the lungs, the pressure on your kidneys, just the transformation alone would kill you
Yeah.
because your body isn't made for that. So there's been people that say, yes, I'm a big, or I'm a werewolf. Excuse me, but it's in their head and they act like they do, but they don't turn. That's the biggest thing. But we have had cases, okay, where people have seen what they say was a wolf man
Mm.
that looked like a wolf man. We had a really big case here in Ohio called the London, Ohio Wolfman, and that whole case was based off of a 1941 Lon Chaney style werewolf,
Wow.
where they believe this guy actually changed into a werewolf. People have seen this thing. The police, it was something that was really big in the 1980s in Ohio. Was this whole case here? I mean, it made national news, made state news, local news, everything, and everybody was talking about this case. But like you said, it was not a dog man at all. This was a typical werewolf, case. Um, then we had one that we got a report on in Erlanger, Kentucky, which is like right across the river from me, where this lady was jogging and she was up, in a residential area, but at this one area, the hill kind of goes down and goes into like a wood line, okay?
Mhm.
And she sees this werewolf and wolfman type thing standing there, and all it's wearing is a white shirt. And she says it looks like a wolf man, not a werewolf. Didn't look like a dog or anything like that. It looked like, and we have the drawing, and I'll go ahead and send that drawing to her. You can look at it.
Oh yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of it's wicked looking, but and this is the drawing, that she did, on the side with her citing what she saw,
Wow.
So
Well,
yeah.
and you even think about some of the native cultures here, the Native American. They have talk of people that like would wear the wolf's clothing during
Yeah, with
a
clothing, yeah,
ceremony, or not clothing.
yeah.
They'd wear the wolf skin or whatever animal skin they wanted to kind of take the shape or form of the when they were like doing rituals or trying to
Oh yeah,
become
yeah.
in the shamanic circles. And but I don't know. You hear a lot of different things for this. I mean, you think back to ancient Egypt. You got pictures of Anubis, the dog-headed
Mhm.
people. It just kind of some people wonder if this is even a spiritual thing or
Like
angel.
dimensional.
Yeah,
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 demonic. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's just I don't know where I'm with any of that, but I'm definitely intrigued by it.
Oh yeah.
But
It's kind of a wicked and that's what makes this field, I think, a lot more exciting than any of the other fields, because there's just so much different aspect. There's a flesh and blood, there's supernatural, a dimensional, extraterrestrial, there's all kinds of different arrows pointing to different things when it comes to this particular
yeah,
creature, and that's what makes it fascinating.
and you brought up the lady that saw that thing in Kentucky earlier.
Mhm.
I know you remember just a few years ago, there have been a couple of attacks. Like I think one was in North Carolina or maybe South Carolina of a lady that was attacked. She was walking her dog. She was attacked by
Oh yeah,
what
yeah,
she claimed. But then there was a terrible tragedy in Kentucky, I believe, where a young boy was mauled.
yeah.
He was.
And then we investigated that case, and the whole community is like really quiet.
Hmm.
Okay, the police stated that his family was part of a dog fighting ring. Okay,
Oh,
and he went out to feed the dog. When he opened, the kennel, the dog got out and attacked him. But here's the thing: the dog dragged him 400 feet up a hill.
uphill. Yeah.
Okay, uphill. Um, and they said it was a pit bull. Okay, pit bulls are strong. Yeah, I can't see a pit bull dragging, 110-pound, kid 400 feet up a hill and to eat them. Okay, they would have mutilated him right there.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and if he had prior contact with this dog, I don't think they would have been an issue. Okay, even though the dog's vicious, the dog's only vicious when he gets in that ring. Okay, if the family feeds him correctly and treats him correctly. But I that whole case just was, um, uh, it was stupid. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah. It
but
sounded like it was even like mishandled by authorities, and it, I don't know. There was a lot going on during the time, and there was a lot with the news reports and a lot of like
well,
panic and stuff. I mean, it's
yeah, there was other cases that was going on around that area where um, uh, livestock, especially horses, were being
yes,
attacked and killed.
yeah,
And there was one picture we have of a horse's head um, laying in this puddle of mud, and there's a large canine track right there.
mhm.
And the cop put his foot in it.
He put
You
his
know,
foot inside the track.
yeah,
That's pretty
to
big.
destroy the track.
Wow.
Well, we got the picture, but I mean, it's just it's crazy. The amount of cover up that was going on with all this stuff that was you know happening in this whole area. It's like the woman you were talking about was walking her dog. Excuse me, I can't think of her name at the top of my head, but we have her autopsy report on our website.
Oh,
And we
wow.
have two other autopsy reports of alleged people that were killed by dogmen. But when you read the autopsies, the one thing you see first is the coroner having a hard time. You can tell he's having a hard time trying to justify what he's saying. First of all, you can sit there and read it and say, yeah, he knows he's talking BS. Okay,
Wow.
that's the first thing.
Yeah.
And the second thing is when you read about what happened to these people, there's no way a domestic dog was able to do this. You know, just no way.
Yeah.
You know, and there's one case where, and that's with these autopsy guy where the dogs who they thought were the culprits when they were put down and they checked their body for um, human flesh. They didn't find any human flesh in there. They didn't even find DNA, human DNA in the mouth. So basically, what they did, the police took this guy's two innocent dogs and tried to make those two innocent dogs out to be the killer. And then when the autopsy came place on the dogs, then it was like, no, the dogs had nothing to do with it, but they just, they thought they would have something, and that's what it
Yeah.
was. And, it's like, it's a wonder they did not fake that story and made
Yeah.
it say, yes, we found a pound of human flesh and it was her DNA in there. But luckily, the person that did the autopsy said, no, there's nothing there. And then we found out that they wanted him, the guy that did the autopsy on the dogs, to say yes, this was in there, and he refused to do it because he already put his report out. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not going to change it, but that's what they wanted. You
Right.
know, yeah, it was nuts.
Jeez. Well, there's a lot out there going on. There's a lot that we don't even hear about. Um, I I think it's ramping up. Like I said, there's a
Oh yeah,
lot of strange stuff, and we were talking about the UFO stuff earlier, and I know that you've probably heard the past couple of days that uh, Trump it's ordered a release of the UFO UAP files, so that's going to
mm-hmm.
be interesting. I mean, is it? Who knows what that's going to do or talk about? Or everything's just kind of ramping up.
The thing here's my thing. I don't think he's doing it to cover up the Epstein file debacle, but you know, I don't think people are going to freak out like they think people are going to freak out.
Right.
Because everybody knows. I saw a survey that was done a few years ago, and I tried to look for it because I wanted to make a copy of it. And it was like they talked to oh god, it was like 500 people, and they asked them what it is that you believe in, and like the number one thing was UFOs. The second was ghosts, and Bigfoot was the third. And then it was just like a whole bunch of other,
Yeah.
weird, like human combustion and stuff like that. But you know, everybody
Yeah.
believes, we're not alone.
No,
Okay.
I think you're right. We've been either desensitized to it or
Oh
programmed
yeah.
with it. I mean, or maybe we just inherently know that we're not alone. You
No,
know?
and the thing of it is, what is the thing? I mean, we see more. There's not one positive alien show out there. They've always been negative. That they're the bad guys,
Yeah.
and that is what's being thrown into everybody's heads is that aliens are bad people. They're here to colonize you and take you for food, and you know
maybe they
just crazy.
maybe they want us to believe that, right?
Yeah, and that's the reason why I think they want you to believe that. And then you got, believe it or not, I was reading another survey that I saw where like this whole thing of the flat Earth, and more people believe in that. I mean,
Right.
it's it you know a lot more people thinking that it's a flat Earth more than it is round, and it's up there with uh, going to the moon. I'm sorry, I'm one of these people. I'm not a scientist or anything, but I never believe we went to the moon. I'm sorry, I'm one of these people that honestly believe we never went there. Um,
I have my doubts. I'm glad you said it
I, I
first.
have I have a lot of doubts. You know, um,
Yeah,
a whole lot of doubts. When you start doing research and you find out who was all involved, you know, in that, and you find out there's a lot of lot of high profile people
yeah,
you never thought would be involved in that, and we had to sit there and show Russia we were first,
yeah, we
you
did.
know, and it's
The whole Stanley Kubrick involvement. I mean, and some of
yeah.
the witness test the statements on that. I mean, it's just there's so much, man. And even honestly, to me, just looking at the footage, it just doesn't. It
Well,
doesn't. It
Buzz,
doesn't
Buzz
check out.
Aldrin even said that we never went to. He said that like countless times on different TV shows. We've
Yeah,
never
that's right.
went to the moon.
Yeah,
We've never went there. You know,
and people just gloss right by that.
yeah,
Like, but yeah, you're right.
yeah. And it's like I was reading this thing the other day. I thought was really interesting, and the three guys that escaped from Alcatraz, okay, were pictures that were next to um, the first Apollo mission,
Mhm.
the three astronauts for the first Apollo mission, and he ran it through AI, and um, it came back something like 98% compatible. That the three guys who escaped Alcatraz were the three guys that was on the first or second Apollo mission. I can't
Really?
remember which one it was, but it was one of these things where he like ran in and he's talking about it, and then when you're looking at them and you're looking at these astronauts, it's like, man, there's some resemblance there, big time,
Yeah.
you know.
No, it's yeah. I was having to like check into something else. There was who was it that what astronaut died in the was it Gus Grisham that died in the actual one of the pods they were
Yeah,
testing?
yeah,
Yeah, he was talking out against it. Like this thing's
yeah,
never gonna fly. It's not gonna make it. He even like I think put a lemon on it or near it, and they did not like his
yeah,
skepticism.
yeah. He put a little lemon thing on there, and yeah, and then yeah, he gets burned up,
Yeah, but I
you
mean,
know.
bad things happen all the time. I want to believe that we did, but I don't know. I'm leaning toward it. I don't think we did. And if we did, we didn't do it then. If we did at
No,
all, because
no. I
there's
mean,
the whole
my
problem with
whole
the
thing,
you
right?
get,
My whole thing is why haven't we been back?
oh yeah,
Okay, and why was the technology destroyed?
right. It
Okay,
was
that's the whole thing. All the technology of going to the moon, why did NASA destroy it? And they admitted to destroying it. So why? Okay, look how many shuttles we've had that blown up. Okay, and if we can't even get a shuttle up without blowing up, how in the hell did we get to the moon?
yeah.
Okay,
It's man. Hey, you know
but
what? That's another great. It sounds like
right,
you have a lot to know to
right.
talk about that. So I'm definitely going to have you back on to have
But
that whole
yeah, but let me
conversation.
say one more thing,
Oh, sure,
okay?
sure.
What I think is interesting. How do you get people to believe the moon landing
You show them.
existed?
Uh,
Huh?
you show them.
No, how would you get people to believe that it actually happened?
Oh, I
I
any
think the smartest thing
yeah, yeah.
that they did was talk about moon bases, talk about structures on the moon, talk about
Oh,
seeing alien spacecraft on the moon.
I got you.
Just I mean, and then releasing all these top secret photographs of these transparent cities on the moon, different type of moon structures that shouldn't be there. astronauts talking about seeing aliens and talking about seeing spacecraft. That is how you get people to believe the moon landing was
Yeah.
real. And that's my opinion. If you take away the doubt by giving them what they want, and that's to believe in extraterrestrials.
Oh man. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah,
slick if they're doing that.
yeah,
I never
yeah.
thought about that angle.
Yeah, and I think they knew that angle was the angle that was going to work.
Yeah, because a lot of them talk. Edgar Mitchell, a lot of them talk about seeing things up there that they shouldn't have seen.
Oh
So,
yeah, yeah,
wow.
and right there, that is how you convince people that the moon landing was real.
And
Because
I was going to say,
go
did you?
ahead.
No, did you see the? Uh, I guess the press conference after they got back, they looked like they had seen a ghost. They
Oh
they
yeah,
were they were terrified. They should have been the
hmm
happiest guys on the planet, and they looked beat down. Like
and I think they were beat down because they were threatened.
yeah,
They were threatened. I mean, look, when the movie Capricorn won,
OJ,
yeah, with OJ and all that. I
right?
mean, yeah, it's the federal government did everything to try to get that movie from not being made.
Oh wow, didn't know
Oh,
that.
they did all kinds of stuff. I mean, they were threatening people, not to make that movie. And that movie is one of the biggest conspiracy theories that started, this whole we never went to the moon thing. They couldn't
Yeah.
say in the movie that you didn't go to the moon. You had to say it had to go to Mars. They were not allowed to say they weren't,
Oh okay.
yeah, to the moon. It was to Mars. And that was probably, I think, one of the things I was reading about, um, where that was part of the deal with the getting it going. They couldn't say moon, Mars.
Well,
People were
I didn't know
saying
that.
it.
That's
Yeah,
no, that's another good point. Well, Joedy,
yeah.
it's been great, man.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to have you back on. It sounds like we could talk about all kind of stuff
Oh
tonight,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm definitely going to have you back on. But real quick, would you tell everybody how they could find you, get in touch with you, and just everything about yourself, real quick?
Yeah, you can contact me through my Facebook page. Um, Joedy Cook. You can find me on there. You can send them if you find any of the North American Dogman Project's page on Facebook. If you need to go home, you just type in there, I need to get a hold of Joedy Cook, and they'll get you in contact. Or you can go to the website, which is www.northamericandogmanproject.com. And when you get on the first page, you'll see on top it says, if you have any questions, please email us at nadpquestions@hotmail.com. Just send a question right there and we'll get in contact with you.
Hey, sounds good. Thank you, Joedy, for coming on.
Not a problem.
And yeah, hang out real quick. I'll talk us out of here. But hey, guys, thank you for coming and watching the show. And you can find Mysterious Huntsman on YouTube, Spotify, any kind of podcast platform that you can think of. I'm pretty much there. But if you like the show, please like it and subscribe and check out the stuff. I have a website, themysteriousHuntsman.com. You can find some merch on there, and I think more current episodes or a little information about the show anyway. But all right, guys, thank you so much for joining in, and we'll talk soon.